Howard County was established in 1838, nearly 200 years ago. And some of the names of our significant public spaces, buildings, facilities reflect the values and the moment of that time. And as many of you know, those values often honored people who were part of a systemic racism and participated in the oppression of African Americans, indigenous people, and other people of color. The current landscape of our country demands that we address and confront the ugly truths of our past and present, and that includes ensuring the namesakes of our facilities and spaces reflect today's values. Values that embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's why I'm here today announcing the Public Facilities and Spaces Commission so that we begin to more fully perform the moral and intellectual work of revisiting whom and what we commemorate. This commission will be vital to contextualize the relevant history surrounding the namesakes of many facilities in our county. Members of this commission will be responsible for reviewing the history surrounding the namesakes for public facilities and spaces to determine if the namesake participated in or encouraged the oppression of African Americans, Indigenous Americans, and other individuals of color, and contributed to the history of systemic racism and other biases. Reporting on named facilities and spaces including, but not limited to, county-owned streets, county-owned buildings including schools, libraries, and other facilities, county-owned parks, county neighborhoods, and statues in county-owned parks. And recommending any names that should be changed, contextualized, or added for consideration to future naming of assets. As a county, we want to make sure that none of our structures are barriers to a welcoming and inclusive community. We recognize that we choose to name our public facilities, and what we choose to name those facilities and spaces reflects on who we are today. For too many years, we haven't asked the hard questions about these namesakes, but the time is now to face our history, learn from it, and move forward with an honest understanding of who we've chosen to honor by naming our public spaces after them. This, by no means, will be an easy task. However, as President Kennedy noted when speaking about going to the moon, we choose to do the other things not because they are easy, but because they are hard, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept and one we are unwilling to postpone. I want to thank this commission for taking on this challenging effort over the next 8 months. We're also proud to have Sean Gladden, the Executive Director of the Howard County Historical Society, as chair of this commission. As a historian, Sean will bring a wealth of knowledge and perspective to this important role. Joining Sean on the commission are historians, educators, archivists, residents, and community activists who are lending their subject matter expertise and will allow for diversity of perspectives. This Black History Month, as we celebrate, this commission reminds us that there is always work to do to unravel the deep threads of racism and historic erasure of specific communities in Howard County, throughout Maryland, and around our country. While the history of Howard County cannot be changed, erased, or forgotten, we do have a responsibility to make sure our residents understand the full context of the past, and so we can develop a fuller understanding of our history and how it impacts our community as we take another step toward a more equitable, more just, restorative community. Thank you.
I would like to thank Dr. Calvin Ball for asking me to lead a commission that will look at and reevaluate street names, buildings, and landmarks in our county. As a lifelong Howard Countyan and a professional historian, I accept my role as someone who can assist this administration as we look at our own history with a fresh perspective. Identifying opportunities where we may be able to honor individuals from our past whose contributions to our society have been minimized or lost. As the executive director of the Howard County Historical Society, we will have access to our archives as well as resources from other historical partner organizations throughout the county. The team that is being assembled consists of academics, educators, community leaders, and professional historians who will look at the history behind the naming of specific buildings, streets, and landmarks. We will also provide detailed and objective histories of significant figures in our county's history who deserve to be acknowledged for their contributions, while also scrutinizing the historicity of current street names, landmarks, and buildings. For us, this is an academic exercise, one that has occurred in many communities throughout the history of our nation as our values as a society change. Many of the street names that we Howard Countyans all know by heart were once named something else 100 years ago. Trust me, we have the records. Once again, thank you, Dr. Ball, and your staff for asking me to lead this initiative. As a lifelong Howard Countyan and historian, I take this responsibility seriously and look forward to the work ahead. Thank you.
Yat A, Annie Bigay Ald Yanishya, Twahiglini Nishlin, Do Betani Bashichin, Hushkoshni Deshiche, Do Tkanisani Deshanella. Hi, I am Annie Bigay Ald. I am from the Water That Flows Together people, born for the Within His Sheaves people. My matriarchal grandmother is from the Mud people, and my patriarchal grandmother is from the Tangle clan. And that is how I am Navajo. It is important to honor the first people of this land. The Susquehannock are the treaty people of what is now Howard County. Treaties are promises between nations. With them is where our story begins here. The true reflection of a community is evident by how its citizens are incorporated into its values. As a resident of Howard County and a tribal citizen of the Navajo Nation, I welcome the ever-present inclusivity that abounds here in Howard County, historical treaty land of the Susquehannock. As we embark to incorporate names that embody our values, I would ask that these first inhabitants presently removed from the land be honored in namesake. Though displaced, they leave a rich treaty history. I'd like to thank our county executive, Dr. Calvin Ball, for being committed to equity, where fidelity to the treaty people of this land has been historically neglected. Thank you.
The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is very familiar with this country's history of systematic racism, oppression, and biases against communities of color, and we understand that Howard County is included in that history. But honestly, there should be a celebration for what we're launching here today. The results of the work that will be put forth by this commission will last for generations to come. We have the opportunity to literally rewrite history in what we hope will be a peaceful transformation and process that will rearrange, respect, and recompose the way we all remember leaders, soldiers, and honestly, just everyday people. I'm eager to be a part of this process. As a child who grew up within Howard County, I was never delighted to hear, nor was I drawn to the names offered to me as a student, or even as an adult who returned to this county to start my career, to serve, and to give back. Rather, it was more the case that the names selected served as distractions and conflicted with what should be the inspiration and honor of anyone of note. Children should not just assume that the names on buildings, parks, and within our public spaces are honoring people who contributed to our county, but they should also embrace them for their works and be curious about the substance of the selected heroine or hero. Nobody should serve to be awarded or recognized, but if one's history doesn't work to show value of all individuals in our community, then namings undermine what that glorious honor is all about. I want to thank the county executive for the opportunity to serve our community in this capacity. While the task may be difficult, the goal is to ensure that respectable citizens are on the front of all of our public facilities, parks, and throughout our community, and that makes any amount of work worth it. There should be a celebration when we enter a building or drive on a street. There should not be the memory of trauma caused or crisis triggered. The naming should be an effort towards respecting those who have sacrificed, served, and ultimately been about the mission to make our county a better place to live in. There's a great African greeting that says, "How are the children?" The greeting is based off the ideology that if our children are okay, then society will be as well. And I am confident that the children will be fine when they are motivated and inspired from the display of ancestors of great worth throughout our county. Then we can all celebrate. Thank you.